That's Vegas done, and it was very, very tricky conditions. It always is every year, but this year more so as the result of the fact that we had rain in and out of free practice sessions and a wet qualifying session. With Carlos, brilliant result. We've stretched our lead just ever so slightly relative to VCAR for that P5 and to a lot of teams behind that for other positions in the championship. In the case of Alex, difficult qualifying conditions. He was very quick, but that small mistake, and it was a small mistake, had a large impact across the weekend, combined with no radio in the race, which makes things very, very difficult and tricky. Irrespective though, I'm pleased to see that the car was competitive and quick, and there's more to come. Welcome to the Vowles Verdict, presented by Kraken. First question's from Elizabeth, which was, without Alex's radio in the race, how and what information were you able to get to him? First and foremost, let's deal with the radio issue. Not widely known, but both cars had radio issues. So interestingly, for completely different reasons, but Carlos wasn't able to hear us or talk to us, and Alex wasn't either. Now, in the case of Carlos, it was actually fixed on the grid, and we were able to have communication in the race, which is fantastic and is what enabled us to deliver that strong result. In the case of Alex, the situation was unrecoverable. As it turns out, there's a combination of a loom and an electrical box shorting, and both of them together is what made the issue. So fixing one didn't resolve the second. Answering the question though that Elizabeth asked, which is communication, what can we talk about, how do we talk about it? We still use a physical pit board. It's about the size of me, a little bit shorter than that, with large meshes that we hang out, and you'll see it on the start-finish straight. And what we're doing on there is counting down the number of laps and putting instructions and messages on there, like box, come into the pit lane. Or in the case of Alex, it became more complicated as a result of the penalty, retirements, front wing damage. Now, the driver, we could still see the telemetry from the car. So what we were able to see on Alex's car, he was able to push a button, which is pit confirm, which tells us he's coming into the pit lane. So that message came across to us and we were able to see that, but we didn't know why. As you'll see, when he came into the pit lane, his front wing was broken. You can't see that on his onboard footage. You can't see the contact or the parts flying off. And the safest thing to do is to carry out an effective stop, change the tyres, send him around, get the front wing ready. It's hard to react that quickly to a front wing change without putting our mechanics at risk, which is not what we want to do. From that point onwards, we had the pit board out, able to bring Alex in. It's just that drivers aren't necessarily looking at it every lap. For example, he was fighting Franco for a huge number of laps and wasn't able to see the pit board. But that's the communication mechanism. So telemetry from him, we're able to see, we're able to communicate via a static board. Next question is from Davis, and it's with a situation like Alex when you're the back of the field, and I think also I'll add with a competitive car, how do you deal with strategy? What do you think about in that circumstance? I'll split that question into two. Let's imagine radio working. What we would have done, what we were planning to do was exactly the same as Antonelli's strategy. I basically fit the medium tyre, wait for an early opportunity and run that hard tyre right to the end of the race. And it would have been effective with our car pace. That would have been in point scoring position for Alex. Unfortunately, we did not execute that strategy for the following reason. Once we lost radio contact, being able to tell the driver come in on a VSC or safety car on those first few laps is incredibly hard to do. So we opted to fit the hard tyre and just run really, really long with Alex to effectively invert that. It's not optimum. We know it's not optimum. You can't benefit from those other VSC and safety cars, but it gives you thinking time and him thinking time in the car so we can look at the pit board and respond to where we are. But answering the bigger question from Davis, what do we do with strategies? We're looking at how to effectively offset ourselves relative to the field or maximize VSC and safety car opportunities. So do different to what you think most of the teams in front of you will do. And that's what the simulation suggested, and as it proved, that would have been correct. Next question is from Andrew, which was, is there a circumstance where Carlos could have placed higher than where he did? A lot of it is down to car pace, and unlike Baku, we didn't have the car pace here to finish on the podium. You can see that there were other teams that were quite a bit quicker than us, and it's important we reflect on that. Now, there is a strategy that would have been better. It's stopping one lap earlier with Carlos. We would have still been ahead of Piastri on the road. We would have been able to defend against him, I think, based on how the tyres were graining. But as you saw with Leclerc, he was actually able to overcut us. So we were graining our tyres pretty badly. Leclerc was able to go several laps further and then come out ahead. And when that's a situation where you're both undercut and overcut, you get the idea pretty quickly that it's not there on car pace relative to where we need to be to the McLarens and to the Ferraris. I think where we finished was absolutely in line with the car performance that day. Next question's from Elizabeth, which is the learning that we've had across these last few races, which are producing performance, producing points, does it carry over to next year, or do you start again? So there's a mixture. What we're learning about how to extract performance from this car, these regulation sets, that's certainly part of the reason why we've become better and better over the last few races. Next year's cars won't work in the same way aerodynamically. We're not as reliant on the floor aerodynamics or getting the car very close to the road. So in that circumstance, that learning won't carry over. But one of the aspects that's really important to me and really important to us as Williams is that we go into every weekend, learn from our failures, push ourselves, because that learning, how we communicate, how we work, how we use tires, how we set the car up, even how we responded to effectively the same issue that was suffered by McLaren, the porpoising, we responded in the race to that, which meant that we were able to finish the race in a legal state. All of that learning will apply into next year and beyond. It's how we communicate, how we work, the ethics, the culture. And that's really important to how we work. The next element is how we use simulation to drive best practices forward on track, how we effectively bring us together as a team. And again, all that learning will carry over. So answering the question, some specific car elements, they won't apply as much. Some learning around how we operate will absolutely carry over.